$156,000, $250,000, same company, same title, same years of experience. What creates that nearly $100,000 gap? If you think the answer is better lead code performance or a PhD in mathematics, you are looking at the wrong data. The gap isn't about your ability to write code from scratch anymore. It is about 5 specific skills that separate standard implementation from strategic AI engineering. There is a growing anxiety in the tech industry right now. You see the headlines about AI engineers making $500,000, and then you see job postings offering standard senior developer rates. It feels contradictory, it feels confusing, but when you analyze the actual offer letters, a clear pattern emerges. The engineers commanding the top tier salaries aren't just building features, they are architecting AI systems that solve expensive business problems. Imagine 2 resumes on a hiring manager's desk. Both list Python, React, and AWS, but one candidate understands RAG architectures, vector databases, and agentic workflows. That second candidate isn't just getting the job. They are entering the negotiation with massive leverage because they solve a problem the company is desperate to fix. In the next 14 minutes, I am going to show you exactly how to move from the first group to the second. We aren't just going to talk about vague concepts. I am going to give you a realistic, no-nonsense 90-day roadmap that takes you from zero to confident AI engineer. We will break down the salary hierarchy, identify the tools that actually get you hired, and debunk the myths that are wasting your time. Most importantly, I am going to reveal the one skill that has the highest return on investment right now, and it is not what you would expect. Most beginners spend months studying the math behind neural networks, thinking that is the barrier to entry. They are wrong. The market has shifted. Companies are desperate for engineers who understand orchestration, evaluation, and deployment. By the end of this video, you won't just understand why that $100,000 gap exists, you will have a step-by-step plan to close it. Let's look at what the data actually shows. If you plot software engineering salaries against years of experience traditionally, you get a predictable, linear climb. But when you overlay AI engineering data from the last 12 months, that line breaks completely. We are seeing engineers with just 3 years of targeted AI experience out-earning traditional senior architects who have 15 years of tenure. This is the experience paradox. It is terrifying for veterans who refuse to adapt, but it is the single greatest opportunity for freshers and career changers in the last decade. Why is this happening? Because the fundamental value metric of the industry has shifted. For 20 years, your salary was tied to your syntax knowledge and your ability to write logic from scratch. But today, AI assistants can generate syntax instantly. The market has effectively devalued raw coding speed and massively inflated the value of system orchestration. Companies are no longer paying a premium for someone who can write a binary search tree in C++. They are paying a premium for the engineer who can design a retrieval system that accurately processes thousands of legal documents without hallucinating. Before we go further, if you want to stay on the right side of this salary divide, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We analyze these market shifts every single week to keep your career future-proof. Now, visualize the current job market as 2 diverging roads. The lower road is standard implementation. It is crowded, highly competitive, and salaries are stagnating because AI tools are making this work easier to commoditize. The upper road is AI systems engineering. This road is nearly empty, desperate for talent, and pays significantly higher. The crucial realization is that the barrier to jump from the lower road to the upper road isn't a PhD or a decade of tenure. It is a specific set of skills that most computer science curriculums haven't even added to their syllabus yet. When you analyze the job descriptions for these high-paying roles, you don't see requirements for legacy maintenance. You see demands for model evaluation, vector search, and inference optimization. This confirms that the seniority gap has been reset. You aren't trying to catch up to 15 years of legacy experience. You are entering a new arena where everyone has effectively been learning for only 2 or 3 years. If you focus on the right skills, you can close this gap faster than you think. So, what exactly are these 5 skills that justify a $250,000 salary? Let's visualize this as a radar chart. If you map a traditional senior developer, Their chart is spiked heavily towards syntax, algorithms, and system architecture. But if you overlay the profile of a high paid AI engineer, the shape shifts completely. The skills creating the value gap aren't about writing better loops, they are about managing uncertainty and context. The first skill, and the one creating the most immediate demand, is Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. Most developers treat data like a precise lookup, SQL queries that return exact matches. The AI engineer needs to think in terms of semantic meaning. Think of it like a librarian. A traditional database can only find a book if you know the exact title. A RAG system finds the book because you describe the plot. Companies have terabytes of messy documents, and they are paying a premium for engineers who can build the librarian that connects that private data to their AI models accurately. The second skill is orchestration. This is often misunderstood as just prompt engineering, but it is much deeper. Anyone can type a request into ChatGPT, but the engineer commanding top-tier pay builds complex chains where the output of one model becomes the input for another, automatically validating and refining the answer along the way. It is the difference between asking a chef to cook a single meal and designing the entire kitchen workflow. Third is evaluation. This is the silent career killer. In traditional software, a unit test passes or fails. It is binary. In AI, answers are probabilistic. They change. The engineer who can build a system to automatically grade the AI's homework, ensuring it isn't hallucinating before a customer sees it, becomes the most trusted person in the room. Fourth is model economics. You don't use a Ferrari to go to the grocery store, and you shouldn't use the most expensive model to summarize a tweet. Understanding the trade-offs between cost, speed, and intelligence is a strategic skill that directly saves the company money. And finally, the fifth skill is agentic design. Building systems that don't just talk, but take action. When you combine these 5 elements, you stop being a coder and start being an architect of intelligence. This is the toolkit that separates the two salary brackets. Now, let's look at how you actually learn this in 90 days. But first, we need to address the elephant in the room. Skill number 3, evaluation. This is the specific filter that separates the hobbyists from the high earners, and it is the primary reason why so many self-taught engineers fail to land the job. You see, it is incredibly easy to watch a tutorial, copy some code, and build a chatbot that works perfectly once. Maybe it works 5 times in a row, but in a production environment, working most of the time is effectively the same as broken. Think of it this way. A junior developer is like a home cook who makes a brilliant meal by accident but can't tell you the recipe. A senior AI engineer is the head chef who designs a kitchen system ensuring every single plate meets a Michelin standard, regardless of the chaos during service. The disconnect happens because most beginners are obsessed with the building phase, connecting the newest model to a database and seeing the magic happen. But hiring managers at top tech companies are terrified of that magic. They are terrified of a customer service bot that hallucinates a refund policy or a legal assistant that invents case law. The $250,000 salary doesn't go to the person who can build the bot. It goes to the person who can prove, with data, that the bot is safe to deploy. If you cannot measure the quality of your AI system, you cannot improve it. And if you cannot improve it, you are stuck in the junior bracket forever. This is exactly why most standard roadmaps fail. They prioritize syntax over reliability. We are going to fix that. Here is your strategic 90-day plan to master these skills in the correct order. Visualize your learning path not as a linear checklist, but as a 3-layered pyramid. The base is your interface skills, the middle is your architectural understanding, and the peak, the part that actually justifies the high salary, is reliability. Days 1 through 30 are about the base, the interface layer. The biggest mistake beginners make is spending their first month studying the calculus of gradient descent or trying to build a neural network from scratch. Unless you are applying for a research role at DeepMind, the market does not pay for this anymore. The data shows that 90% of commercial AI roles are engineering roles, not research roles. Instead, focus on what I call glue Python. This is the specific subset of coding used to connect systems. You don't need to be a master of algorithms to start. You need to master API integration, JSON handling, and asynchronous functions. Think of the AI model as a powerful engine that arrives in a crate. It has immense potential, but no way to move. Your job in month one is not to redesign the engine. It is to build the transmission and the wheels that connect that power to the road. Days 31 through 60 move you to the middle layer, context and memory. This is where you master RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. According to recent developer surveys, this is the single most common architecture in production today. Why? Because base models are amnesiacs. They don't know your company's private data. You need to learn how to store information in vector databases. Visualize this. Instead of filing documents alphabetically, you are converting paragraphs of text into specific GPS coordinates in a meaning space. When a user asks a question, you aren't searching for keywords. You are searching for the location of the answer. If you can build a system that reliably retrieves the right document from a pile of 10,000 PDFs, you effectively solve the biggest bottleneck in enterprise AI. Finally, days 61 through 90 are for the peak, the reliability layer. This goes back to the evaluation skill we discussed. Most portfolios are full of fragile demos that break if you phrase a question differently. You are going to build an automated grading system. You will learn frameworks that ask your AI the same question 50 times to measure consistency. When you walk into an interview and show a dashboard of your application's accuracy metrics rather than just a chat window that looks cool, you change the dynamic completely. You stop being a junior developer hoping for a chance and become a systems engineer who understands risk. Now, let's look at the specific tools you should use to build this, avoiding the ones that are already becoming obsolete. Let's talk about the toolbox. A common trap for beginners is getting paralyzed by the tool war. LangChain versus Llama Index, Pinecone versus Weaviate, OpenAI versus Anthropic. It is easy to spend months just comparing features without building anything. Visualize a decision matrix. On the vertical axis, you have ease of use. On the horizontal axis, you have control. Beginners often flock to tools in the top left corner, drag and drop builders or heavy abstraction frameworks that hide all the complexity. These are fantastic for weekend hackathons, but they are career suicide for a serious engineer. To get hired for a high-paying role, you need to build with the production stack. This implies a specific shift in mindset. Instead of looking for the tool that does everything for you, choose the tools that give you granular control over the prompt and the data. Your stack should look like this: Python as the non-negotiable foundation, a dedicated vector database like Pinecone or Weaviate for long-term memory, and a lightweight orchestration layer. But here is the critical warning. Do not become a framework wrapper. If you only know how to call a library function but don't understand the raw API call happening underneath, you are vulnerable. The highest paid engineers use these frameworks, but they know how to bypass them when they break. If you are feeling overwhelmed by these tool choices, drop a comment with the word stack below, and I will reply with a pinned list of my exact recommended setup for beginners. Now for the skill that has the absolute highest return on investment right now, and it is the one most tutorials completely ignore. We have talked about RAG, which is retrieving information, but RAG is passive. It waits for a human to ask a question. The market is shifting aggressively toward agentic workflows. Think of the difference this way. A standard RAG application is like a customer support rep who has memorized the manual. They can answer any question accurately, but they cannot do anything. An agentic system is like a support manager who can not only answer the question but also log into the system, process a refund, update a shipping address, and send a confirmation email. Companies are willing to pay a premium for agents because they don't just provide information, they complete tasks, they replace actual labor hours. If you can demonstrate a system that doesn't just chat but acts, a system that plans a sequence of steps, executes them, and verifies the result, you are no longer competing with other junior developers. You are competing with the cost of outsourcing that entire business process. That is where the $250,000 value proposition lives. So, How do you prove you possess these high-value skills without having senior AI engineer on your resume? You solve the cold start problem by building a proof of work portfolio, but listen closely. Stop building generic chatbots. Hiring managers are tired of seeing clones of the same YouTube tutorial. To land the role, you need to build 3 specific projects that map directly to the salary hierarchy we just discussed. First, demonstrate your data engineering skills. Don't just show the AI model, show the pipeline. Build a system that takes messy, unstructured data, like a folder of scanned invoices or raw emails, and automatically extracts, cleans, and structures that information into a SQL database using an LLM. This proves you understand the glue Python layer and can solve real business problems involving messy data. Second, prove your RAG mastery. Build a semantic search engine for a specific difficult niche like case law or medical journals. The key here isn't the chat interface, it is the citation. Your system must be able to answer a question and highlight the exact paragraph in the source document where the answer came from. This proves you understand context and hallucination prevention. Third, and this is your crown jewel, build an autonomous agent. Create a digital research assistant that takes a topic, browses the live internet, reads 3 different articles, synthesizes the facts, and writes a formatted report without human intervention. When you walk into an interview with these 3 projects, the dynamic shifts. You aren't asking for a chance to learn. You are demonstrating that you have already done the work. You have moved from a theoretical coder to a practical systems architect, and that is exactly who companies are hiring in 2026. Remember the 2 paths we visualized at the beginning? The crowded lower road of standard implementation versus the open highway of systems engineering? The difference between them, that $100,000 gap, is not about how smart you are, it is about how quickly you decide to adapt. There is a lot of fear in our industry right now. People look at AI and see a threat to their livelihood, but I want you to look at the data we just analyzed and see the opportunity. The experience paradox means the playing field has effectively been reset. The senior architect with 15 years of legacy experience is starting from the same place you are when it comes to agentic workflows. This is a rare historical window where ambition matters more than tenure. If you commit to learning these 5 skills, RAG, orchestration, evaluation, economics, and agents, you aren't just protecting your career, you are future-proofing it. You stop being the person who worries about being replaced by an automated script, and you become the person who architects the automation. Think about where you want to be in 6 months. Do you want to be still scrolling through job boards, worried about the next shift in the market? Or do you want to be the candidate who walks into the negotiation with a portfolio that proves you can solve the company's most expensive problems? The roadmap we just walked through is your ticket out of the anxiety loop. The reality is simple. AI won't replace software engineers, but software engineers who understand AI systems will replace those who don't. The choice of which group you belong to is entirely up to you. If you are ready to make that transition, you are in the right place. On this channel, we don't just read the news, we break down the career strategies that actually get you hired. So, hit that subscribe button because in the next video, we are going to take the first step of that 90-day roadmap and break down exactly how to build your first RAG system without getting overwhelmed by the math. The gap is closing. Let's get to work.